The famous ship to have ever sunk in history is the Titanic. She had a displacement of 52,310 tons and a length of 269.1 meters or 883 feet. She is also considered to be one of the biggest ships to have ever sunk. But did you know that there are many warships bigger than the Titanic that sank by combat during World War II? So today the Buzz will present the top 10 biggest and largest warships to have ever sunk. This list is mainly based on displacement, so let's get started. The 10th biggest warship to have ever sunk is the Japanese aircraft carrier Kaga. Her length was 247.6 meters and had a displacement of 38,813 tons. She took part in the Pearl Harbor raid in December 1941 and the invasion of Rabaul in the Southwest Pacific in January 1942. Kaga was attacked by American aircraft from Midway and the carriers Enterprise, Hornet, and Yorktown during the Battle of Midway in June 1942. A significant portion of Kaga's hull and other wreckage were discovered in 1999 on the ocean floor northwest of Midway Island. In 2019, RV Petrol discovered her wreck on the ocean floor. Measuring a length of 270.7 meters and a displacement of 43,746 tons, the USS Saratoga CV-3 is the 9th biggest warship to have ever sunk in history. She was originally designed as a battle cruiser, and during her construction, she was converted into one of the Navy's first aircraft carriers. In mid-1946, that is after the Second World War, the ship was a target for nuclear weapon tests during Operation Crossroads. She survived the first test with little damage, but was sunk by a second test. At a depth of 52 meters or 190 feet, the USS Saratoga's wreck is located in Bikini Atoll's lagoon. Number 8 on the list for the top 10 biggest warships to have ever sunk is the HMS Hood. She was a battle cruiser of the Royal Navy after being commissioned. Hood remained the biggest battleship in the world for 20 years. She was 262.3 meters long and displays 47,430 tons. The ship was hit by numerous German shells on May 24, 1941, during the beginning of the Battle of Denmark Strait and sank within 3 minutes. Due to her publicly perceived invincibility, the loss affected British morale. Her wreck was found in 2001 in Denmark Strait between Greenland and Iceland. At number 7 is USS Lexington CV-2. The ship entered service in 1928. She had an overall length of 270.7 meters and a displacement of 48,500 tons. During World War II, the Japanese hit Lexington with 2 torpedoes and 3 aerial bombs. She was abandoned and scuttled by USS Phelps after fuel explosions, making her the first US Navy aircraft carrier loss in World War II. Petrol discovered her wreck on March 4, 2018, about more than 500 miles away off the coast of Queensland. The wreck is divided into several pieces on the ocean floor. The 6th biggest warship to have ever sunk is the Bismarck. The ship was one of the biggest and most potent warship ever constructed for the Kriegsmarine. She had an overall length of 251 meters and a maximum displacement of 50,300 tons. Bismarck was attacked by 16 Fairey Swordfish biplane torpedo bombers. 2 British battleships and 2 heavy cruisers engaged the already damaged Bismarck in a final combat. After almost 100 minutes of combat, the Bismarck was sunk as a result of shelling, torpedo strikes, and purposeful scuttling. In the month of June 1989, Robert Ballard discovered her wreck. At number 5, we have the Tirpitz. She was one of 2 Bismarck-class battleships constructed for the Kriegsmarine of Nazi Germany. She was 2,000 tons heavier than Bismarck after a number of wartime upgrades, making her the biggest battleship ever constructed by a European fleet. Tirpitz displaced 52,600 tons with a length of 251 meters. 2 direct hits and a near miss by British Lancaster bombers carrying 12,000-pound tall-boy bombs on November 12, 1944, caused the ship to capsize quickly and subsequently sink. Between 1948 and 1957, the wreck was broken up by a joint Norwegian and German salvage operation. Number 4 on the list for the top 10 biggest warships to have ever sunk is the Shinano, which was an aircraft carrier built by the Imperial Japanese Navy during World War II. She was the largest warship built up to that time. She displaced 69,151 tons, had a length of 265.8 meters, which is bigger than the Titanic. She was sank en route 10 days after commissioning. On November 29, 1944, 4 torpedoes from the American Navy submarine Archerfish sank her. Over 1,000 sailors and civilians were rescued and 1,435 were lost, including her captain. She remains the largest warship ever sunk by a submarine. Up next is Japanese battleship Musashi. Having a displacement of 72,809 tons when fully loaded and a length of 263 meters, she is the 3rd biggest warship to have ever sunk. On August 5, 1942, Musashi was commissioned in Nagasaki and joined Yamato, Nagato, and Mutsu in being a part of the 1st Battleship Division. On October 24, 1944, an estimated 19 torpedoes and 17 bomb hits from American carrier-based aircraft sank her during the Battle of Leyte Gulf. Paul Allen, the co-founder of Microsoft, hired a group of researchers that discovered her wreck in March 2015. At number 2 is again the Japanese battleship Yamato. She had the same length and displacement as her sister ship Musashi, and they were the heaviest and most powerfully armed battleships ever constructed. They were both armed with 946cm or 18.1-inch Type 94 main guns, which were the largest guns ever mounted on a warship. On April 7, 1945, Yamato sank during a fierce battle for Okinawa. The Yamato was discovered 180 miles southwest of Kyushu, one of Japan's major islands, in the 1980s by shipwreck hunters. The ship was discovered in pieces at a depth of 340 meters or 1,120 feet. With a length of 319 meters and a displacement of 84,914 tons when fully loaded, the USS America or CV-66 is the biggest warship to have ever sunk. She was an aircraft carrier constructed in the 1960s for the U.S. Navy. Following her retirement, the U.S. Navy tested USS America with submerged explosives, watching from afar and through monitoring devices placed on the vessel. On May 14, 2005, America was sunk in a controlled scuttling once the tests were finished. She was sunk around 250 miles southeast of Cape Hatteras. The wreck lies upright in one piece 5,140 meters or 16,860 feet below the surface of the Atlantic Ocean. Well, that, guys, was the top 10 biggest and largest warships to have ever sunk. We hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to hit that notification and subscribe button for more videos from The Buzz.